Good to go.
All righty. All right, we'll just go ahead and anybody got questions for Coach Palumbo?
Coach, Cliff talked a lot about Ryder's progression since last year, and obviously he was tremendous defensively in the shortened season. Just what have you seen from him growth-wise since last spring?
Yeah, I mean, obviously defensively, it's tough to improve on what he did on the field last year in the short spurt. I think he played in about 14 games, had a little bit of an injury there the last weekend, but he, really just continued to improve there defensively. But I think the biggest jumps, as Coach mentioned, have been more just showing up on the offensive side, just because of his physicality. You'll see it on the base pass. He's a little bit quicker, and really just that extra, coming back and getting a chance to just be one of the older guys here within the program, to see his confidence level emerge in really all aspects of his game. And I think the last weekend we played our Purple Gold here in the fall. In my opinion, if you're up in the stands watching the game, I thought he was the best player on the field, just really taking over the game in all areas. And, I think he always been there defensively. That was kind of his calling card. And I think really he's just kind of, with hard work and work in the weight room and, work with, in all areas in the cages and with Coach, he's really become a well-rounded, player. So been fun to watch, and he's just a tremendous leader day to day. To watch him, we have a big group of freshman infielders. So to see him kind of take charge of those guys and lead the way, and I know it's been documented pretty well how influential Turner Brown was on Ryder. To see him kind of pass that on to a large group of infielders is certainly going to make them, better their freshman year and moving forward. And just kind of, as we talk about passing that down within the program, hopefully it'll, continue to help us down the road in the future.
Coach, can you talk about your general feeling about this team and what's your general inkling about how good this particular ball club can be?
Obviously we're confident. We're confident in the group of guys. You have a lot of older players returning on both sides, defensively on the mound and certainly within the lineup. But, really that doesn't necessarily matter. Everyone's going to be older this year, and we know that. The players know that. And it always gives you a comfort level as a coach to some degree to run out guys in the lineup that just have been there, and I think that's going to be important this year, with less fans in the crowd. Less fans in the stands, and just the type of season that, at some point in time, we know we'll face some adversity, and just having older guys that have been there, done that, and kind of been through it is going to certainly benefit us. But we also know, again, everybody else has that as well, and it's going to be taking it day by day. And it doesn't matter if we're older, younger. Coach Godwin lays out the plan of just focus on today, continuing to get 1% better. And that's just always going to be the approach that we take, whether or not we're older, younger. It's allowed us to be very consistent in how we approach, practice, and how we approach road trips, and how we approach, batting practice before the game, and just getting caught up in the process is I think vital. It doesn't matter if you're the best team in the country on paper or you're the worst. That's going to put you in the best possible spot to be successful and win, and just kind of how we continue to go about it. So yes, we're older on both sides, and as a coaching staff, that gives us a little bit of comfort, but that's not going to matter come opening day when the other teams show up.
When you look at this season, at the schedule and roster and depth, obviously it's going to be a different season probably than any other. Is that something y'all are kind of harping on, at scrimmages and practices, that you have to build that depth, and really every guy on the roster could play a role, more so than maybe seasons past? You always want your guys to be that way, but is that really important, you think, this preseason?
It's always important, but even more so this season. And I think especially for the younger guys to understand that, it's easy as a freshman player in the program right now to look out. And there's a lot of guys that have started for a while, and you may not necessarily anticipate breaking into that spot right away, but you're really a hand injury away, and someone tested positive, from hopping in there. And you've seen it across the landscape of every sport that started playing since since the virus showed up. You see the stories over and over again about players who weren't expected to be, in the lineup or playing in the national championship game. You see it every day. So, we talk about it. Coaches talked about it, just continue to prepare and really, you shouldn't have to, it's just kind of how, again, we go about our practice, but you also want them to have the mentality of, at any point in time, you could be called on to play a huge role for us. So we talk about it. It's certainly important, never more than now for sure.
Coach, kind of going off of what you said earlier, who are some of those younger infielders who have made a positive impact since coming to the program this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big group of them, to be honest with you. Joey Barini's been working out at shortstop, and Austin St. Laurent is another one that, can bounce around and play multiple positions. Jacob Starling is a second baseman. He's been working out mainly at second base, has some athleticism. He can go to the outfield a little bit as well. And, CJ Boyd is another utility type player that can play some second base, move to the outfield. Josh Moylan at first base is probably the one that is the furthest along and having the opportunity to to receive significant playing time early on. So he's a big left-handed bat out of Maryland, and he's done a nice job continuing to work defensively. His calling card is kind of his offensive big left-handed power hitter. So had a great fall starting out, especially the first 2 to 3 weeks. And Josh has done a great job working with coach. So we're expecting big things out of him, but a large group of them. So we're bringing them along, and obviously they have great leadership in Ryder and Zach Agnos and Connor Norby. And, as mentioned, AMAC, just how all they got to do is watch those guys, how they go about their work and their practice, and they're going to continue to make huge strides. So, so we're excited about all of them, but I think Josh is the one that kind of stands out, right now the most over at first base.
Norby had that tremendous start to last season. What will it take for him to continue that and try to, replicate it as best as possible over a full season?
Yeah, for Connor, just be himself. I mean, if he is extremely talented, I tell people and pro scouts all the time, there's really nothing he can't do. Hit 5 balls out this fall, doesn't strike out, can steal bases, has the ability to make the routine play consistently, but also the ability to make the web gems. I mean, he can make any type of play, tremendous arm strength. So there's really nothing that the kid can't do. And I think it took Connor a year in our program just to kind of develop that confidence and realize that, hey, I do belong here at this level. And he was just starting to kind of hit his stride. I felt like last year on the offensive side, played outstanding defense. We worked on a few things with his double play turn that he needed to continue to improve at. But really across the board, he just needs to be himself, show up, play hard, believe in himself. He's going to hit high in our lineup, and we're going to count on him to do big things, and he knows that, and he's ready for it.
Maybe you should ask Coach Godwin this, but I know you're probably still involved a little bit with the catcher position. And what is that like kind of behind Seth Caddell? And again, as we talked earlier, depth is an issue or an important thing. I mean, I'm assuming that can be part of the catching position too. I mean, we know Caddell, but what are things kind of like behind him, I guess? Yeah,
Ben Newton is back, as well. And Ben played in spurts last year and also DH'd, hopped into the DH role a little bit towards the back end. I also thought Ben was really starting to kind of hit his stride and put together some really quality at bats last year. And, we're going to count on Ben. Obviously you talk about those 4-game series on weekends. That's a lot of baseball in a short period. So Ben's ready. He's gotten more physical, kind of complements Seth in that he's a left-handed bat, that can come off, but he's continued to make, to grow as well and make big strides. He's in his 2nd year in the program. So I think he's just much more comfortable, being in the program and being himself. And then behind that, Justin Wilcoxon is in his 2nd year and has really worked hard in the weight room, left-handed bat as well, and started, very, very strong. And he's continued to come on. Joey Rezick is a freshman as well that was came into the program this year and has a ton of tools, can really run, ton of power on the left hand. Other than probably Bryson Morrell, one of the strongest guys at the plate in terms of exit velocity. So a lot of things to work with. He's worked with, Coach Godwin and Coach Knight there behind the plate to continuing to just kind of develop that side of his game, but very talented as well. So there's a group of guys back there. And, as we, again, we've talked a whole lot about, they all need to be ready to go. Right now, obviously Seth and Ben are probably the two that are, would be the first 2 options up.
And how, especially the fall, when y'all got to compete and actually get out there, the way last season ended, and we're doing this virtually. I mean, there's so much kind of virtual and different. How much did you and think the guys just enjoy competing in the fall, and then this weekend and preseason, like actually just getting out on the field and playing is, I'm sure, an enjoyment compared to everything else that's going on in the world, I guess.
Oh, it definitely makes you appreciate it. Just being outside and getting with the guys and seeing them, in their comfort level, and just enjoying being around each other, enjoying playing the game. And I mean, it kind of takes you back a little bit, to be quite honest with you, when you hit that period of time where, you just weren't sure, when we're going to get a chance to all be together as a group and play, and when that was all going to be allowed to happen. So, I tell people all the time, we're ready to play a game. I mean, this is the longest stretch that college baseball players or college coaches have ever gone, at least in my, 16, 17 years of coaching now, without getting a chance to go play a game, so we're all just the opportunity to get out and go work at it. It has been throughout the fall and the early part of the preseason. Coach talks about it all the time. Don't take it for granted, and make sure we maximize the days, because at any point in time, I mean, you see it in Michigan athletics right now. You don't know when you're not going to get a chance potentially. So you got to make sure that you're taking advantage of it. But a huge piece of that is just getting its opportunity to enjoy being around each other and working with the guys and watching them, enjoy what they're doing.
Okay. Do we have anything else for Coach Palumbo this morning?
Hey, yeah, just kind of building off that a little bit. Coach had mentioned how everything they've gone through, the bubble in the fall, how it's made this team the closest he's probably ever seen. What have you seen from that aspect, and how do you think that'll be helpful in the season?
Yeah, I certainly agree. And it's one of those situations where the guys are just having, they're around each other, and any time. I mean, look, going back to when Coach got here and we started out and we made the guys put their cell phones up when they came into the facility, and just hearing how the guys talked about it just brought us closer together. We had to interact with each other. We had to speak with each other and talk, and that carried over the field, and they felt like our relationships grew. And, yes, because of the virus, it forced us to now take another level, and now it's even away from the stadium. Really the guys are around each other. They're spending time with each other. They're watching other, games on TV, and they can't go out, go to other places and just go out. So it's forced you to be around each other more often. And with that, the guys have continued to become close. And look, this is going to be a close group anyways. But I think it really brings kind of the freshmen and the older guys even that much closer together, and they can just work on those relationships more in depth. So all of those things you feel like are no question positives and going to carry over when we get into the season and start facing adversity and all of those things. But just the nature of it has brought us together. And somebody was kind of talking with me today, we're having a conversation, and he said, well, X was, as a positive of the virus. And I said, there's plenty of positives, if you really take a step back, there's plenty of positives. Certainly there's all things we wish would be a little more normal. But without question, one of the positives is the people that you're close to, you're closer with than ever before. And that goes with our team as well.
Okay. Any other questions for Coach Palumbo? Okay, Coach, thank you for your time this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay.